It's the ultimate travel guide from the people who know it best. Weekends with Yankee. The Nubble Lighthouse is one of the country's most photographed lighthouses. Visitors can only take in its beauty from a distance, as tours and access to the craggy islet it stands on are not open to the public. Richard begins the day with breakfast at local favorite Norma's restaurant. He's here to meet Norma Clark, whose mother, Barbara Fenimore, was the last baby born at the Nubble Lighthouse, and in the middle of a storm.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. Are you the famous Norma?
That I am.
You know, when you come into town, everybody says you've got to start your day at Norma's.
It's a good time of the day to be at Norma's. We have a great group every morning.
I'm going to the Nubble Lighthouse. So is there anything particular on the menu that I should order?
I think maybe the Nubble Light Special.
Okay, so the Nubble Light Special and maybe a cup of coffee to get me going.
Right now.
Okay.
Okay? Here you go.
Okay, wow. Wow.
Look at that.
I noticed behind me you have this beautiful mural. Is there any story behind that?
My mom was born on the Nubble in 1927. And she would go to school across they called it the gut. And they'd go either in bad snowstorms, whatever.
When people always talk about growing up and they say, oh, when I was a kid, I used to have to walk in a snowstorm every day to school and so forth. But I mean, your mother actually had to go in a boat,
In a boat, yes.
The painting what's the story behind that?
Bill Thompson. He and my mom got to be very good friends because Bill did a lot for the Nubble. He loves to draw and paint. And so when Mom passed, he painted this in memory of Mom. It's just a nice community spot. Everyone knows everyone. It's like family.
Next, Richard meets up with Matt Rosenberg, who has served as Nubble's lighthouse keeper since 2012. Matt knows all about the lighthouse's rich history, what makes it unique, and the details of how it's now been carefully restored.
It gets really rough here. It's usually much rougher than this, even on a good day.
I have to imagine that back in the day when they built this, you had to be pretty self-sustaining on here.
Yes, they had to keep a month's worth of food and water on hand at all times, because there could be an entire month where they wouldn't get off the island. So this is the entrance to the tower. On the other side of this is all the equipment that runs the lighthouse. So
okay,
head on in. This lighthouse was built in 1879. It makes it one of the newest lighthouses in the area. They had been kicking around the idea of having a lighthouse here for decades before that. In the mid-1800s, there was a wreck on Bald Head Cliff, which is just north of here, up the shore, a ship called the Isidore, where several men died, and that's when they got more serious about putting a lighthouse in this place. They used coal oil for their lamp, and the lamp had to be extinguished and refueled every 4 hours. So a couple times a night, the lighthouse keeper would have to get out of bed and go up there. In fact, during storms, he'd actually sleep up in the tower near the lamp, and he'd have to run 5-gallon buckets of coal oil up from the fuel house, which is way down on the front of the island, up to the lighthouse in order to fuel it. So they would do this year-round, 365 days a year. So this is the heart of the Nubble Lighthouse. It is the Fresnel lens. Before a lens like this, you had to put out a tremendous amount of light to be seen. What this lens does is it concentrates the light into a single beam through these stacked prisms. So it all comes out in the middle on a much more intense flat beam. This light right here can be seen for 14 miles on a clear night.
Lighthouses are very iconic of the New England coast. It seems that this lighthouse is perhaps the most iconic of all of them. Why is that?
You know, I think people have this infatuation with this lighthouse because it is a little tiny time capsule. They look at it and it seems to be frozen in time in its own little bubble on an island, like completely untouchable. And it stays kind of perfect. When I work on the lighthouse and I do stuff, I know that I'm doing things that people have been doing for over 100 years, almost 150 years, over and over and over again. Like we've painted the same piece of wood so many times. Or, you know, I've replaced the same hinges that have been replaced by generations of people before me. And sometimes it gives you a little chill to think about like all the people who have worked on this lighthouse over that time.
If you want to know why Nubble Lighthouse is one of the most photographed in the world, Matt has some insights. He's been photographing it in all seasons.
Matt, this is one of the most photographed lighthouses in the world, and I see a lot of people taking pictures. But if someone wants to come here down onto these rocks and take a picture that you can frame, what do you tell them?
Well, a lot of times when you have clouds like we have today, people are a little bit disappointed, but I think this is the ideal kind of day. When you have no clouds, everything looks really flat. Here you get a sense of depth and you can feel that the lighthouse is across the water. Really working the sky and making sure that that's a prominent part of your photo, and these nice clouds that we have developing, that is going to be something that'll help you make a picture you want to frame. We've got some wave action in the front, so I want to make sure I can capture some of that.
So you're not pushing in too much with the zoom?
No, I feel like once you start to take the lighthouse out of its environment, it just doesn't have that same special feel that you get like when you're looking at it, just like we're looking at it now. If you watch the sets of waves that come in, they kind of build and then collapse and build and collapse. So sometimes if you spend 5 or 10 minutes out here before you take your photo, you'll get like that breaking wave that's doing exactly what you want, that shows the action.
So here's what I have.
That's a nice shot. I like the foam. I think that looks really, really good. You've definitely got like that depth with all the clouds that you've got.
And I'm glad you did positive reinforcement because that only encourages me to shoot more. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. There's nothing bad to say about this photo.
Thank you. Thank you. Your photos have a different perspective. For example, we're looking at Montauk daisies.
I love Montauk daisies because they are not a real daisy, they're a chrysanthemum. So they bloom in the fall like when mums do. And the other thing you get in the fall is sometimes you get like these kind of layered sherbet colored sunsets that are happening here with the light reflected behind the lighthouse.
So the starfish view of the Nubble's interesting.
A couple times a month we'll get very, very low tides that expose the starfish, and we'll see starfish of all colors, and they're just kind of littering the rocks over there, which is kind of cool. The waves here are spectacular, and the funny thing about them is that you get in specific places the same kinds of shapes.
Winter reflection.
You get those really nice calm days in the wintertime sometimes when the air doesn't move at all, and that's when you can get like a perfectly still reflection.
This last shot we're looking at, out of the fog, to me is taking advantage of really bad weather and turning it into spectacular art.
This is the photo that kind of started my journey to photography, because before I felt like I was just taking pictures. And when I took this photo, it became like something that I felt was art for the first time ever. So the one that represents your experience in that moment, that I think becomes the photo that you love the most.
All right, I'll have to go out there and take more photos.
Go do it.
Nubble Lighthouse has not only inspired great photography, but great music. Grammy and Emmy-nominated artist and composer Máiréad Nesbitt joins us to share stories and play a little music.
That was fantastic.
Thank you, Richard.
Oh.
Thank you so much.
I'm inspired.
Oh,
So those songs, those are...
some great, great Irish tunes for such a beautiful, beautiful place that reminds me of the west coast of Ireland. It's so rugged and so beautiful. I think Celtic music really, what inspires it is nature, the land, the water, the waves. It's passionate, it's soulful. I think it's really food for the soul.
And so when you come here to Nubble, here in Maine,
Yes.
it does look a little like the Rocky Coast.
It does. I love the water, the beautiful lighthouse. It's so amazing.
So how long have you been playing this type of music?
I think since I've been about 4. So
Since
a
you're about
long
4.
time.
Do you have a musical background, your
Yes,
family?
Yes, my whole family play. My mother and my father. I have 4 brothers and my sister. So we all play music and we all play together.
Now, I know that you have done quite a few albums. What's your new album that's coming out?
My new album is Celtic Spells, so I can't wait for everyone to hear it, and you just got a little taster there, but obviously it's epic, and it's just epic Celtic music. I hope everybody will love it.
And so maybe you'll play me just a little more and play our audience out with this beautiful scenery here.
Absolutely, I would love to do that.
And what's the piece you're going to play?
Well, I love the Skyboat song from Celtic Spells because I think it's so beautiful and it's so suitable for here.
All right, take it away.
Thank you.